Greetings, Exile. It's me again, the guy who makes off-meta trash builds that nobody asks for, bringing you another off-meta trash build which apparently many of you did ask for. And to my surprise, you guys chose Puncture of Shanking over Double Strike. Really? You sadistic bastards really want me to stab Maven in the butt that badly, huh? Alright then, here it is. And that too on a budget, just as you so kindly requested. In this video, I will cover the build mechanics, my reason for choosing Gladiator, and my future plans for this build. So let's get started. Puncture of Shanking is a transfigured version of Puncture. It always inflicts bleeding and deals more damage with bleeding. But unlike the original skill, there is a melee strike skill, which can only be used with swords, claws, or daggers. This skill also has much higher attack damage scaling and provides high critical strike chance against bleeding enemies, which is similar to the stats provided by Cornered Prey and Bleeding Mastery for critical strike. Now, since we already have access to a lot of critical strike chance, we can use this to our advantage and create a critical bleed build. A critical bleed build, I'm sure this is something many of you have probably never heard of, as it revolves around the Perfect Agony keystone. This keystone applies all of our critical strike multiplier to damage over time multiplier instead, but it comes with some major downsides. First, damage over time multiplier has no effect on its own, which means any damage over multiplier from any sources other than critical strike multiplier becomes useless. The other two major downsides are that our critical strikes no longer deal extra damage and non-critical strikes cannot inflict any damaging ailments. This means having 100% critical strike chance and very high critical strike multiplier is extremely important for this build to work. And this is where Varunastra comes in. This sword counts as all one-handed weapon types, which means we can allocate nods for swords, axes, claws, daggers, and even maces, and by doing this we gain a lot of critical strike chance and multiplier. However, even after this, we still fall a bit short on critical strike chance, as the base critical strike chance for Varunastra is quite low. To fix this, we use Flesh and Flame combo to allocate Overwhelm from Slayer, which sets the base critical strike chance of our weapon to 8%. This lets us reach 100% critical strike chance and makes it possible to use Rupture support for even more damage, along with over 500% critical strike multiplier, which is a massive boost for any bleed build. But a bleed build is nothing if we are not using Crimson Dance or if the bleeds that we are inflicting are not aggravated. Now, since we are reaching 100% critical strike chance, we take the two small nodes in the Cornered Prey cluster for 50% chance to aggravate bleeding on critical strikes, and combine these with Glove Implicits for aggravation and Vulnerability Curse, reaching around 75% chance to aggravate bleeding on hit. Now, let's talk about why I chose Gladiator as my ascendancy. First and foremost, the bleed explosion from gratuitous violence are an excellent tool for clear and provide those incredibly satisfying pop sounds. Next, we get some amazing defense from Determined Survivor and More Than Skill, which work really well when combined with Versatile Combatant. And lastly, we have Weapons Master, which synergizes perfectly with Varunastra by granting benefits of all weapon types, and most importantly, it provides 20% more critical strike chance to help us comfortably reach that 100%, as Varunastra also counts as a dagger. This covers everything I want to tell you guys about the budget version of this build. So, for a smooth leveling experience, make sure to check out my Mobalytics guide. It goes into much more detail. Right now, the budget version is dealing over 5 million DPS, going up to around 8 million when the enemy is on low life. And this build is also playable in SSF by swapping one of the support gems with increased critical strikes support if you do not have access to our build. You can comfortably clear all tier 16 content and even nightmare maps with this build. However, to take on Ubers, we will need to push this build even further. So let's talk about my future plans for this build. At the current moment, we are doing a lot of shenanigans just to reach 100% critical strike chance, which ends up wasting quite a lot of skill points. So, to fix this, in the next update, I plan to replace Rithla's Coil with Scream's Desiccated Belt for Diamond Shrine, which will give us 100% critical strike chance without investing even a single point into critical strike, allowing us to use Marilyn's Fallacy Amulet without any downsides. With this change, I will also replace Varunastra with a rare sword that has high physical damage and critical strike multiplier. This will allow us to refund all the ascendancy points we spent on Weapons Master and instead allocate Unseen Hand from the King of the Mist. We will also replace the Flesh and Flame setup for Overwhelm with War of Attrition and add a last cluster jewel to the build and use rare cluster jewels with lots of critical strike multiplier. On top of all of this, I will upgrade rest of the gear as well, and most importantly, push our chance to aggravate bleeding to 100%. Getting all of this together will take me a few days. Till then, you can watch me live on Twitch or even join our Discord server. If you like these type of off-meta trash builds, make sure to complete all the formalities by liking, subscribing, or even ringing that notification bell. As always, thanks for watching Exile.